Well, Mr. Speaker, I am a farmer, and my colleague beside me is also a farmer, and there are a few farmers in the building. Thank you very much. And I want to share an expression that is shared in rural New Zealand, Mr. Speaker, if I may. Can't fix stupid, but I can feed one. That's commonplace in rural New Zealand, Mr. Speaker. 56 to 60 odd billion bucks is made by rural people. Now, I am amazed when I come into this building that the advocacy on the left, when it comes to the representation of rural New Zealand, is missing in action. Routinely not mentioning what we do so marvellously well, that I advocate for, that Andrew Hoggard advocates for, and others advocate for on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, in the world of equanimity, equal and opposites, how is it so many are fed by so few? My colleagues and I. And I cannot for the life of me reconcile why it's never mentioned, or so seldom mentioned, by the other side of the House. What did they forget? Their meals, their breakfast, their lunch, the clothing that they wear? I see routinely people wearing leather goods, shoes, handbags. Reconcile where that is made and by whom. And yet routinely, no comment, nothing shared. How is that so? 365 days of the year, my colleague and I, we go out, we milk a cow, we shear a sheep. We are cognizant of not doing so would be our fiscal end. People laugh, but they are wearing my clothing, this man's clothing. They are drinking our milk, eating our cheese, gracious me. But it's comedic on the other side of the House. I don't understand how quickly the left forgets where its breakfast was or the dinner the night before. Mr. Speaker, I grew up in the country, a fair amount of it, and things that we took as commonplace, I want to share with this House to try and bring some rural New Zealand to my townie kin. Now, routinely Andrew Hoggard and I and Mike Buttrick and others would talk about a shearing, raised board, a gut, a wall press. What does that look like to a townie? They don't know, but that's what made your blissed clothing. How do you reconcile that? A cowshed, a cluster, a bowl, a receiving can, commonplace tools for everyday Kiwi folk. A shear plough, a shear pin, a hock, a fetlock, all were terminology that we grew up with. And yet 60 billion bucks, I am so sad, is so routinely not mentioned by my colleagues on the left. How can you reconcile that when we, as parliamentarians, some of us have essentially turned our back on rural New Zealand? Now, I want to share an anecdote, if I may, for some in the public gallery, some of my parliamentarian colleagues. And I'm brought to reconciling a period in my life on a Sunday morning when I got into a drain to put a snake chain on a cow. Sunday morning, July, August, doesn't matter, give or take a bit. It's blizzard freezing. Now, I am pulling out this cow for fear that I would lose her life, to run a bag into her. My hands are frozen. If you're lucky, if it's 5 or 6 degrees. I've now tried 6 or 7 times to get a needle into this poor blizzard creature to save her life. Now, bear in mind, a lot of people don't know what that looks like. Sunday morning, 5 degrees, rural New Zealand. That is commonplace to us. We understand this. This is not unusual. And it is growing your food. It is making your leather goods. It is growing the cloth, if need be, if it's sheep or woolly jumpers, as we call them in rural New Zealand. Why is it such an anathema to the left? Well, every day, and I know I speak to this at nauseam, at frequent volume, why is it such a rarity for the left to share the same anecdotes? Well, I know why. Because there's no one on that side of the House, sadly, that understands this. If they did, they would, because I cannot genuinely reconcile that $56 billion Helen White is so seldomly spoken of. Where are your farmers, I ask you? You do not know, because you do not have any. I am saddened, but I will advocate, as long as I am in this House, with my colleague Andrew Hoggard, Cameron Luxton and others, because rural New Zealand is worth fighting for.